More Australians are seeking legal advice for fencing disputes, with authorities blaming a spike in the past 5 years on property development and a shift away from regular engagement with neighbours. There are avenues that can be taken to ensure a fair outcome, whether neighbours are pushing for a much-needed replacement or resisting unnecessary construction. For more, let's bring in Simon Creek from HHG Legal Group. Good afternoon, Simon.
Good afternoon, Tracy.
What are the main rules on dividing fences here in WA?
They haven't changed in a very long while, so the Dividing Fences Act of 1961 is still the prevailing act, and it fits in nicely with some local government guidelines.
Okay, so what are some of the common fencing issues that we are seeing with neighbours that end up in court these days?
The list gets longer and longer, as you alluded to earlier. Look, at the end of the day, people now argue over what type of material, how high the fence should be, who damaged the fence and therefore who should repair it,
okay.
How different vegetation should be used to prop up a fence or not. The list just goes on and on and on.
What about owners of a vacant block then? Can they have any say as well?
This is where I think the law is a little bit unfair,
okay.
Because if you have a property that you're living in or using right next to a vacant block, it's entirely your cost and responsibility to put the fence up until that block is developed in any proper way. And when it is, you can only claim back the current market value of half the cost, not what you paid for it, what might have been 10 years ago.
Okay, how's it best to negotiate then fence changes with neighbours, or if you know even the owner of the vacant block?
Yeah, we get asked this question a lot, and
okay.
I'm glad we get asked this question. We've got a whole commercial litigation team, and would you believe, amongst all of that complex litigation, the dividing fence questions come up probably weekly. And the best advice we can give is knock on the door, have a six-pack under your arm, say, look, there might be a contentious issue here, but let's sit down and sort it out like adults.
What happens if your fence is damaged by your neighbour?
It is your neighbour's responsibility. And if they are in any way, shape or form denying they did anything wrong, I'd still say try the friendly approach. But if they're just not listening, get a guideline sheet from somewhere like the Citizens Advice Bureau, follow the steps, and if you really have to, you're going to end up in the magistrate's court.
It's going to cost you a lot of money though.
Look, that's an interesting point too, because they're such simple and discrete issues and the law is pretty clear. I think that's the sort of thing a lot of people could do on their own with a bit of legal advice in the background, so possibly not too expensive.
Okay. All right, Simon Creek, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure.